All right, so get ready because today we're going to really dig into something that might just change how you think about aging. We're talking about athletic performance and how to maximize it even when you're not exactly in your 20s anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely something that kind of pushes back against all those assumptions we have about age and athletic ability.
Totally. And to help us with this deep dive, we're looking at a chapter from a medical textbook called Masterful Care of the Aging Athlete. It's all about, masters athletes, those competing over 35. And honestly, you wouldn't believe what some of these athletes are achieving.
What I think is really cool is that this book, it doesn't try to sugarcoat things. It acknowledges that, yeah, athletic performance does decline with age, but then it goes on to show just how much we can actually control that decline.
That's a great point. And speaking of that decline, the book says it affects both men and women. So what's the science behind that? Why do our bodies start to, lose that athletic edge?
Well, you can think of it this way. Your muscles are kind of like a high-performance engine. And as we age, that engine, it starts to lose a bit of horsepower. The biggest factor, muscle loss. After 50, that decline really speeds up. And that's why strength training is so important for masters athletes.
So it's not just about staying active, it's about targeting that specific muscle loss.
Exactly. Plus, there are other changes happening too. Like, we tend to gain more fat, even inside the muscle tissue. It's like having gunk clogging up that engine. And our hustle fibers, the actual workers in the engine, you could say, they start to shift from the fast twitch ones, the powerful kind, to the slow twitch, which are more for endurance.
Okay, I'm starting to understand why that 20-year-old at the gym recovers so much faster than I do. I mean, this happens to everyone, right? Men, women, no exceptions.
Well, this is where things get kind of interesting. Men, especially in those endurance sports, they tend to hold on to that peak performance a bit longer. Hormones, particularly testosterone levels, probably play a role in that. But for both men and women, that decline really picks up after 70 trunks.
So we've got a bit of a head start, but we can't escape it forever. But this makes me wonder, how does this all actually translate to different sports? Like, what aspects of performance really take a hit as we get older?
The most obvious one is strength and power. Imagine a sprinter exploding off the blocks or a weightlifter hitting a new personal best. That raw power, it's really affected by muscle loss.
Makes sense. What about endurance sports?
Oh, yeah.
I know a lot of marathon runners and cyclists who are in their 40s and 50s and still amazing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But even they are dealing with changes. One major factor is something called VO2 max, which basically measures how efficiently your body uses oxygen. That starts to decline naturally. But here's the good news. Consistent training, especially high-intensity interval training or HIIT, can really slow that decline down.
So those bursts of intense effort like sprints or hill repeats, they're key for us older athletes.
Yeah, they can be super effective. But, and this is important, as we age, recovery takes longer. Pushing too hard too often, that's a recipe for setbacks.
And speaking of setbacks, what about injuries? It feels like I'm hearing more and more about masters athletes getting sidelined. Is that just me or?
No, you're right. It's a real thing, unfortunately. Our bodies just don't bounce back as quickly. We have less, margin for error.
So those aches and pains, they're not just in my head.
Nope, they're definitely a sign that we need to adjust our approach. The textbook really emphasizes this, the importance of warming up properly. And not just any warm-up, we're talking sport-specific ones.
Okay, so like instead of just jogging a few laps before my run, I need to do things that actually mimic running.
Exactly. High knees, butt kicks, dynamic stretches, all that good stuff. It's all about preparing your body for those specific demands you're about to put on it.
It's almost like you're giving your body a heads up.
Right, exactly. And when it comes to training in general, should masters athletes be doing totally different workouts? It's all about individualization. Like a one-size-fits-all program just doesn't work. We need programs that take into account our age, our fitness level, injuries we've had, any medical conditions, the whole picture.
So it's not about copying what younger athletes are doing, but about finding a trainer who understands masters athletes.
Exactly. And speaking of medical stuff, the book is pretty firm about masters athletes getting a medical evaluation before they start any kind of intense training.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially as we get older. But what exactly are they looking for in these evaluations?
Well, a big one is cardiovascular health. The risk of heart disease goes up as we age, and these checkups can spot potential problems early on. And it's crucial to be totally upfront with your doctor about, well, everything. Any conditions you have, medications, even supplements you take.
No hiding those little aches and pains.
Yeah. Exactly. It's all about safety and well-being. And if you have any pre-existing conditions like high blood pressure or osteoarthritis, There are specific guidelines to make sure you're exercising safely.
Like a personalized roadmap for staying active.
Precisely.
There's this one thing I hear a lot, especially from runners, about the connection between running and osteoarthritis. Some people say it'll wreck your knees, others say it's actually protective. What's the truth?
That's a debate that's been going on forever, and the chapter acknowledges that it's not so simple. There's no easy yes or no.
So is running bad for my joints or not?
Well, high-impact activity can definitely stress your joints, especially if you're not doing it right. But studies are showing that running doesn't automatically equal osteoarthritis, and it might even help in some cases.
Well, that's good news for all the runners out there,
Yeah.
but I'm guessing there's some, buts here.
Oh, for sure. Proper form, the right shoes, and most importantly, listening to your body. All super important.
So it's not just about pounding the pavement. It's about doing it smart.
Exactly. It's about working with your body, not against it.
Okay, so we've talked about all the challenges.
Yeah.
The decline in performance, the higher risk of injury. But let's switch gears for a minute. What can masters athletes actually do to keep performing well, maybe even improve and prevent injuries? What's the book's take on this?
That's the real heart of this deep dive, and it's what we'll get into in the next part. But I'll leave you with this thought. Aging doesn't mean you have to give up on your athletic goals. It just means approaching them with a little more, let's say, wisdom and a lot of smart strategies. So are we ready to get into those strategies?
Absolutely. I'm all ears. We've talked about the challenges, so now let's get to the good stuff. What can masters athletes like us actually do to stay at our best and avoid those, dreaded injuries?
Well, the chapter really stresses this idea of really tailoring your training. It's not about trying to keep up with those 20-somethings. It's about working smarter, not harder.
Working smarter? I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like, though?
Well, first off, you need a training plan that's actually made for you, taking into account your age, fitness level, any old injuries you've had, even those medical conditions we talked about.
So no more just grabbing random workouts off the internet.
Definitely not. This is where working with a coach or trainer who gets masters athletes, that can be huge.
That makes sense. Let's talk about the workouts themselves. What should those of us over 35 be focusing on?
Strength training is a must. It's like reinforcing those muscles that are naturally weakening as we get older.
So hitting the weights is important, even if I'm not trying to, become a bodybuilder.
Exactly. And focus on those compound exercises, the ones that work multiple muscle groups at once. Things like squats, deadlifts, presses, rows.
Okay, I'm having flashbacks to high school gym class.
Yeah.
But you're saying these old school moves are still the best, even as we get older.
They really are super effective for building and keeping overall strength and what we call functional fitness. That's basically being able to move easily and do everyday things without struggling.
Right, got it. Strength training is in. What about cardio? Do I still need to be out there running or on the elliptical?
Cardio is still essential for a healthy heart and endurance. And the good news is you've got options. Running, swimming, cycling, even power walking, it all counts. The key is to find things you actually like doing and that match your fitness level.
I've always loved swimming. Maybe it's time to dig out that old swimsuit.
There you go. And don't forget, rest is super important as we age. Masters athletes often need longer recovery periods between workouts.
I'll admit, that's something I struggle with. I feel like I got to push myself harder to see results.
Pushing yourself is good, but overdoing it can really backfire. You end up tired and more prone to injury. Listen to your body and make rest a priority. It's when you're resting that your body actually adapts and gets stronger.
So it's not just about how much I sweat, but about giving my body time to recover.
That's it. And this leads to another important point the chapter makes. Exercise technique.
Technique, like how I'm doing the exercise.
Exactly. As we age, our bodies change, right? We might get a little stiff or lose some flexibility.
Oh, so like those creaky knees and stiff shoulders, I blame on my desk job.
Yeah, that can affect how you move. So focusing on good form becomes even more important. It helps protect your joints and reduces the risk of injury.
It's like not just going through the motions, but really being mindful of how I'm moving.
Exactly. Think quality over quantity.
This all makes so much sense. But honestly, the hardest part for me as I get older is motivation. Life's busy, work is demanding, and sometimes squeezing in a workout feels like a chore. How do masters athletes stay motivated? What keeps them going?
That's something a lot of people struggle with at any age, really. The chapter doesn't offer a magic solution, but it hints at some good strategies. A big one, I think, is finding something you truly enjoy. When you're passionate about it, it doesn't feel like a chore, you know?
So if I hate running, ditch the treadmill and find something that sparks my interest.
Exactly. And that spark, it can come from anywhere. Maybe it's competition, maybe it's working out with friends, or maybe it's just the feeling of moving your body and feeling strong.
For me, it's definitely the social aspect. I love group fitness classes. They push me harder, plus the people are so motivating.
There you go. And another key thing is setting realistic goals. Don't compare yourself to your younger self or to other people. Focus on what you can do today and celebrate those small victories.
It's all about celebrating those little wins along the way.
Exactly. Remember, progress isn't always a straight line. You'll have setbacks, plateaus, times when you need to adjust. It's all part of it.
It's a marathon, not a sprint, right?
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to go it alone. Finding a support system, a running group, a gym buddy, even an online group can make a huge difference.
Having that support, people who get the challenges and celebrate with you, that can be so important.
Absolutely. Now, going back to something we touched on earlier, let's talk about those pre-existing medical conditions. The chapter really stresses how important that is for masters, athletes.
All right, we talked about being honest with your doctor. But what does it mean to actually manage those conditions when you're training?
It's about understanding how your condition might affect how you exercise, how to do it safely and effectively. So, for instance, if you have arthritis, you might need to modify certain exercises or avoid high-impact stuff.
So it's about working with my doctor to come up with a plan that's right for me.
Exactly. And it's not just about managing what you already have, it's also about being aware of new issues that might pop up as we get older.
Regular checkups and, really paying attention to my body are key.
Absolutely. Catching things early can make a big difference in staying active.
It's amazing how much this chapter talks about working with healthcare professionals.
Yeah.
It's not just going to the doctor when you're sick. It's about being proactive and working with them to stay healthy.
I totally agree. It's a really proactive approach, and I think it's especially crucial for masters athletes who are pushing their bodies and dealing with those age-related changes.
It's like having a whole team in your corner, supporting you and helping you overcome any obstacles.
Exactly.
Okay, I have a question that I think is probably on a lot of our listeners' minds. This chapter is all about masters athletes, people who are competing. What about those of us who aren't competitive but still want to stay active and healthy as we age? Does all this still apply to us?
That's a great question, and the answer is definitely yes. While the chapter is geared towards competitive athletes, those principles are totally universal.
So, whether you're training for a marathon or just trying to keep up with your grandkids, these strategies can help.
For sure. The key takeaways are for everyone. Strength training, cardio, rest, proper technique, working with your doctor, and finding activities you enjoy.
Yeah, it's really good to hear.
Yeah.
It's empowering to know that this isn't just for elite athletes, it's for all of us who want to age gracefully and actively.
Exactly.
Before we wrap up this part, I want to touch on one more thing from the chapter. Exercise economy. What exactly does that mean, and why should we care about it?
Exercise economy is basically how efficiently your body uses energy when you're working out. It's kind of like, think of a car that gets good gas mileage.
So a higher exercise economy means I can do more with less effort.
That's the idea. But here's the thing. As we age, our exercise economy naturally goes down.
Oh, great. So I have to work harder just to keep up.
Unfortunately, yeah. But the good news is consistent training, particularly those high-intensity interval workouts we talked about, they can actually help improve your exercise economy.
So HIA isn't just good for cardio. It can make me more efficient overall.
That's what the research suggests. It's a great way to fight back against that age-related decline in efficiency.
This is also interesting. It's like a whole new perspective on fitness as we age.
It is. And it's pretty amazing to realize that we have more control over how we age than we might think.
Speaking of control, I'm going to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question. If you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice about staying fit and healthy as you age, what would it be? So before the break, we left everyone with a pretty thought-provoking question. If you could go back and give your younger self some advice about staying fit and healthy as you get older, what would it be?
Yeah, it really makes you think, doesn't it? I think after everything we've talked about, my advice would be to just enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride. That sounds almost too simple.
I know, right? But really, aging is going to happen whether we want it to or not. Our bodies are going to change. But that doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's about adapting, finding new challenges, and celebrating what your body can do no matter what age you are.
I love that. It's not about fighting getting older. It's about embracing it.
Exactly. And it's about realizing that fitness isn't just about, looking good or hitting some arbitrary goal. It's about feeling good, having the energy to do the things you love, and staying connected to your body.
It's about making fitness a part of your life, not just some temporary thing.
You got it. And it's about figuring out what works for you. Not what worked for you 10 years ago, not what your friend is doing, but what feels good and gets you results right now.
It's like we've been saying this whole time. It's all about individualization.
Absolutely. Your body is unique. What you need is unique. Your whole journey is going to be unique. Listen to your body, respect its needs, and don't be afraid to change things up as those needs change over time.
It's like giving yourself permission to, evolve.
Exactly.
And I bet that includes celebrating those little wins along the way, right?
Oh, absolutely. Don't get stuck comparing yourself to other people or even to your younger self. Celebrate those wins, running a little further, lifting a little heavier, or even just feeling more energetic and, well, alive.
Those little wins are so important, they really build momentum.
They do. They keep you going even when things get hard. It's a reminder that fitness is a journey, not a destination.
A journey that hopefully gets more and more interesting and rewarding as we go.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
This whole deep dive has been so eye-opening, really. We've busted some myths about aging, explored the science, and most importantly, learned that we have a lot more control over our athletic performance and our health than we think.
It's not about defying age, but about understanding it and working with it. It's about staying active and healthy and, feeling alive throughout our lives.
So as we wrap up, what are the key things you want our listeners to take away from this?
I think the most important thing is it's never too late to start prioritizing your fitness and health. Whether you're a seasoned athlete or just starting out, those principles we've been talking about, they apply to everybody.
It's about taking that first step no matter where you are on your journey.
Exactly. And remember, fitness isn't just about the physical stuff. It's about feeling good, having energy for the things you love, and staying connected to your body throughout your life.
It's about making fitness a fun and sustainable part of your life.
And lastly, remember that getting older isn't a bad thing. It's a chance to take on new challenges, try new activities, and discover just how strong and adaptable your body can be.
It's about changing the story of what it means to age gracefully and actively.
Well said.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of masters athletes and aging gracefully. We hope you learned something new, and we hope you feel inspired to embrace your own fitness journey. And remember, it's never too late to start. Until next time, keep moving, keep exploring, and keep enjoying that ride.